Looks like we're up.
What's up?
Did you get it in your group?
I got it everywhere. Everywhere.
One more day of 2020, Dave, and the shit show begins again or is over? Which one?
Both. Is it ever really over? I don't think so.
Let's hope the COVID shit is soon.
I don't think so. Yeah, hold on. Let me here we go. The COVID thing should hopefully be over soon. Hopefully.
Your mic's a little muffled.
Here? Is that better?
That's better.
All right. No, that's just me being a knucklehead. Yeah, man. Last day of the year.
Yeah. So some of you may or may not know, Dave and I do a little podcast called the Business Bullies. We have about 13, 14 episodes out. We just we started what day? 1st of October, I think, is when we dropped the first episode. Actually, my birthday, we dropped the first episode. And we're sitting around 1,500 downloads, something like that. Nothing too crazy yet. But Dave and I have talked about what we're planning for 2021, and we both have the same vision of putting out a shit ton of content. So let it be known that I didn't cuss until 2 minutes and 17 seconds in.
Disappointed, Gary.
I'm breaking
extremely disappointed.
I'm breaking records here, But
right.
The goal of our podcast is to give you information to help you grow your business. That's it. That's the goal of our podcast. And so we want to kind of end 2020 and talk about you, but on a macro level, not individual level, and then talk about 2021, what we feel like the focuses should be for you going into 2021 and kind of help you weed through all of the clutter, weed through all the mess, and get yourself straight. And so, I took some time and jotted some stuff down, Dave, but I think for me, for 2020, like I was looking at year-end numbers. I filled out your business census, so you know what I did in revenue. I got it filled out. I filled it out this morning,
And anyone who hasn't filled out our business census, you're nuts, because we're giving you a bunch of free shit for doing it, for one. And for two, not only to get free stuff, but we also plan a strategy session with you going into January to talk about a lot of the things that Gary and I are going to talk to you about today.
Yeah, so make sure you subscribe to our podcast, Apple, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. It is the Business Bullies podcast. Check it out. But I was just looking back at our 2020 and noted a lot of good stuff from my company. And really, this is a good time of reflection. I do it every year and look at really what our numbers. I'm a numbers guy through and through. Ask Dave. I know what I've done up to that day for the year all the time. It's what makes me crazy. But some of us aren't like that. Like some of us are more in tune with the actual operation of the business, and we don't really go back and look at the numbers. Or maybe we're not in a situation where we can see the numbers on a daily basis. But I would recommend getting into a habit of reviewing numbers on a consistent basis. It doesn't have to be crazy like I do it daily, but on a monthly, weekly basis, maybe. I mean, Dave, what's your take from that? What do you do in terms of looking at numbers for your companies? Because you got a couple different, as they call it, irons in the fire.
Couple few. I look at the numbers every day, but that's because I am fucking crazy. I am constantly, for my cleaning company, not as responsible because I have no fucking clue what goes on over there. But someone's looking at those numbers every day. For me, in the data business, but in dope specifically, I got my finger on the pulse a lot because we practice what we preach, and we set up a marketing calendar. So I know what deals are running at one time, and it's one thing that we're really getting disciplined with ourselves about going into 2020 is going into 2021. This motherfucker was crazy enough. Going into 2021, one of our really big focuses is having things planned out, like having a strategy, having something done or planned before we do it, or not being as reactive. And it's one of my biggest focuses to not only help our business with, but to help other businesses, is like, you gotta get shit planned out. This flying by the seat of your pants, and we all wear 100 hats in our businesses. There's no getting away from that. But the idea of like not being so reactive, or not saying, oh shit, we don't have any work. It's Friday. We don't have any work next week. What the hell are we going to do? It's like, if you have things planned out from a marketing perspective, because that's what we focus on, is like, you don't have to be so jumpy and fidgety and reactive to everything that's happening, because it's kind of already planned. And it goes into your question of looking at the numbers, because the idea is like, you have to have the ability to focus on what's important. And what's important every day is your numbers. And so like me, I look at my numbers in dope every day, for sales, for leads, for what's happening, because that's my role in the business right now. I mean, Gary, how about you? How often are you looking at your numbers?
Daily. I mean, and Jim Gamage tried watching for the first time with volume up, but the language was too much with my tenure at home. I'm out. Sorry, Jim.
Yeah, sorry, bro.
Yeah, I mean, numbers to me are the most important thing. I mean, it's not just revenue either. It's, you know, looking at leads in, leads out. It's looking at conversion. It's looking at what it is we did last 3 months, last 6 months, last year, this month, and all those things and combined. Like, I'm always trying to find we can improve. And I think that's what the important thing of reviewing your year, your month, I mean, your week. Like, you should be reviewing all the time. This is a great time to talk about review because it's end of the year, but you should be reviewing your performance all the time and breaking it down. Just like if you have an employee or employees, you should be reviewing their performance and breaking it down for them. How else do they know if they're doing right or wrong if you review and tell them what they are doing right and wrong? And it's important to do both for your business, for your employee. When you do a review, you have to be very self-aware of your business, yourself, your everything that goes along into your business, to be able to say, okay, here's what I succeeded at, here's what I failed at, how do I improve, and what's my plan going forward. One of the things we're doing for our clients across the board for 2021, and they'll be getting these in the next week or two, at least by the middle of January, is we're pushing out marketing calendars, not filled out marketing calendars, but a marketing calendar that asks you questions on a monthly basis. What do you want to focus on? How many leads do you want to get? How many customers do you want to get? What did you do last year in revenue, and how much revenue do you want to do this year? So we have an understanding of where we fit into that. And that's something you should be doing for your company. And really, Dave, even if you do a marketing calendar at the beginning of the year, like, you should be reviewing that monthly, quarterly, like it should get updated. And those things, I think, get pushed to the side a lot because there's so much else going on. I mean, you know how it is. Get the phone call that the truck broke down, or that the customer isn't paying. All of a sudden, we got another hat on and we're thinking about something else. That's where a plan comes in. And if you plan to succeed, you'll be successful.
Here's the deal, is like, we talked about this the other day with me, you, and David. Like, the goal is not to try to, like, new year, new thing. How do I do some shit that's different? The idea is like, you want to duplicate results. And how do you duplicate results? You're looking at your numbers. So when you can figure out, like, simple things. How many jobs did I do in March of last year? What jobs did I do? What was my highest profitable service? Like, based off what I charge and how many of these jobs I do, how do I make the most money? If you want to grow, if you really want to grow your business, like all of us do, I mean, I don't think there's anyone in business that's like, I don't want anything. You always get those fun guys and I don't, whatever. We're not talking about them. The idea is like, everyone that absorbs content, that watches, that's learning, you're doing it in an effort to grow your business. And so the way you grow your business is not to come up with new shit. The way you grow your business is to focus on things that you've done well in the past, understand what those things are, have systems for them that are duplicatable and scalable so you can plug those things into other places in your business and then be able to really like, okay, I'm doing siding cleaning in these 3 zip codes. This is where the most of my work is. I know siding cleaning is my most profitable service, and I can do 15 jobs a week. The goal should not be to add roof cleaning and try to get more money. The idea is like, how do I talk to the same or similar people that I'm providing that work for and do it in new areas? You know how to get the jobs, you know how you do the bids, you know how to do the service, you know how to collect the check. Go do that in a new area, but exactly what you're doing. And without taking the time in the first quarter of the year, understanding the things that you were doing previously and lining that up to make it really easy. Like, this shit doesn't have to be that complicated. And I think a lot of us like overcomplicate putting a strategy together, but the strategy is right in front of you. It's doing more of what you did previously.
Right. And like you said, we maybe get too cute, or we try to like be too smart. We all do that.
Right.
I get too smart a lot. And it's funny because when things are working and all we need to do is add a little bit of gasoline to the fire, like trying to get under the hood and change out the engine isn't what you want to be doing. Like, you just want to figure out how to just keep adding fuel to the fire when it's working. However, you also want to know like what you have planned down the road. I mean, the biggest thing, and Dave mentioned it earlier, the biggest thing I hear a lot is, today is Wednesday, and I don't have anything on the calendar for Friday. And we shouldn't be thinking about that on Wednesday. Like, we should know that 2 Fridays ago. And how you get to that point and how you begin to overcome it is, one, the marketing calendar that we talked about, because that's going to create consistency. And, lead generation, lead flow is important to the lifeblood of your business. It's one of those pillars. Like, you have to have customers. If you don't have customers, you don't have a business, right? And then you have people to do that work.
Yep.
So like those pillars are very important. And when you look at those as pillars, you know that, okay, I have to spend time doing this. We get caught up in completing the work when really we have to be as caught up in maintaining and developing customers and relationships as we do getting the work. It's kind of like going back to, if you're in an industry group and a guy's getting started out and the first question he asks, I'm getting started out, what should I buy? The 8 gallon a minute or the 5 gallon a minute? And the question he's asking is, what do I need to do to get as many customers as possible? We talked to Dave Sessions yesterday, and there was a guy in the group that started out his pressure washing business, his exterior cleaning business, with the cheapest tool you can find, a sprayer, and was making money. How much, Dave? $5-6 grand a month.
Doing numbers.
And so that's where we have to really focus, is understanding the customer piece is just as important, or getting the customer piece is just as or more important than how you're taking care of those customers. You don't have a business without customers.
Right.
And 2020 has been reviewed. You know your successes, you know your failures, you know what your plan is to improve. So let's look forward. What are those things that 2021 we should be focused on? Obviously, we've talked about marketing, and marketing is very, very important. What are some things, Dave, you can give the guys that we should be focused on for 2021?
So I am in this planning phase because for me, it's like, marketing, hiring, system, it doesn't matter. I look at how much that I at times fly by the seat of my pants in the couple businesses that I own and the other things that we're doing. Me and Bryn are making babies. We're in the process of buying a new home, like wearing a couple hats. And I'm no busier than anyone else that's watching this. But it's like, Where I lack is in planning. I'm very reactive. I'm good on my feet, but I also like overwhelm the shit out of everyone that I work with because I can, oh shit, spin this up, do this, let's run this quick. And everyone's like, Dave, hold on, dude. We're doing everything over here. So whether you're like a brand new guy in business, or maybe you're in second, third year, or maybe in your 10th year, and it's like, you've got some things going that are working, but you're also like, you're a couple steps ahead of everyone else. And that's kind of where I stay, in a bad way. Not like, oh, I have it all figured out or whatever. It's more like, dude, I always am looking ahead. And for me, it causes problems. And what solves that is when I have a plan. It's like when me, my team, everyone around me, they know what's going on. Then I can have my space to be a week or 2 weeks or a month or 3 months out or whatever. But for me, it's planning. It's like, how can I take some things that I know that happened? How can I take those things and then point them in the direction of, I already know what's going to happen over the next month, and I have a plan so that I'm not so reactive, so that I'm not shaking the box up. And that goes into like adult marketing right now. Shameless plug. We're hiring. Do you know someone that knows something about contractors, real estate people, can have conversation? We're hiring people on the phones. We're hiring video people. We're hiring sales people, appointment setters, and all of these things, unless we knew exactly what we had to hire for and had a plan, we couldn't do it. So what I had to do over the past couple of weeks is lay out and have a plan that says, okay, these are the roles we have to hire for. Even if it's coming 3 months down the road, I know that I'm a guy in a truck and I'm going to have more work than I had last year in March or April or February or May or whatever it is. The idea is I need to have a plan for how much I'm going to spend, who I'm going to hire, how I'm going to get that hire. Is it Facebook? Is it referrals? Is it Indeed? Is it whatever? The whole idea of planning is my focus right now. So everyone's going to be hearing me talk a lot about planning through January, through February, because one place where I've really failed as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, is kind of flying by the seat of my pants and not always having a plan. And so the best advice or strategy that I can give to everyone right now is first, as Gary was just saying, you got to look at your numbers. You got to understand what's going on. You got to be in front of people and in front of yourself. Get a temperature, get a diagnosis of what's going on. But then it's take a list of priorities of what you're trying to accomplish. And before you just start randomly doing shit, getting all manic and all over the place, it's lay out your list of priorities and come up with a step-by-step plan of what you're going to do. It's one of the reasons, Gary, you and I talk about this shit a lot, where it's dude, Sundays for me, Sundays are planning days. I do Saturdays with the family. I wake up Sunday, we do breakfast with the kids, do whatever. And then for 3 or 4 hours, I'm looking at planning my week, and I always thought that made me disciplined. Well, each first Sunday of the month now, I go over my whole month. That's my plan going into 2021. It's not a week by week thing. It's assessing the plan, going into this month, how that's going to work, and then really staying ahead of your priorities and having a plan for your priorities. That's what's important for me right now. And that's what I'm trying to help other people with.
Yeah. And planning is never going to be wrong. If you can develop plans and then develop a way to stick to that plan, hold yourself accountable. That's the key. I look at, so for 2021, I'm focused on these 3 things, and I think every business owner is too, and that's the 3 C's. Cash, my favorite, customers, and consistency. So cash flow. Dave and I, we laugh about a lot of stuff, but my favorite is the guys who get on and they say that everything's paid off. They're paid off. Everything's paid off. They're wearing it as a badge of honor. Well, number one, they probably didn't speak to their CPA. Number 2, they're probably not looking really to grow. It's a hobby or it's a side gig. Great, awesome. But if you're looking to grow a business, debt is part of that.
Leverage. You need to leverage.
It's just part of it. So the thing is being smart about what you leverage and what you don't leverage. Number one, if I own a service business again, which I will soon, when I get to that point, we'll do the same thing we did with vehicles with pressure washing, and that's I'll lease them. Leasing does wonderful things for taxes. It does wonderful things for cash flow. And it doesn't have to be a brand new vehicle. You can lease things down 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. You just have to find a commercial leasing company that will do it for you. And it makes perfect sense. Like, we don't live in a world where you come up with $50,000 and buy your vehicle so you can create income for your business. That would be dumb.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. No.
So I'm focused really on cash for my business. Now, with my business, I don't have as many capital expenses like that. Our expenses are related to software, service providers, things like that. But I'm focused heavily on cash flow. And you should be too in 21 and every year coming after. Like, cash flow is king. It always will be. And you should focus on every.
How to manage that shit too, Gary. Remember talking about when me and you first started carrying $100,000 in accounts receivable, and if you don't manage your cash flow right, like, we all want to grow, we all want to get big, but no one teaches you how to do this shit until you figure it out. And when you get to a point in your company, like Gary and I have been in, where it's like, you want to get so big, right? I want to do commercial work. I only want to do this. I want to make the big bucks. Well, let me tell you how it feels to carry $150,000 in AR when you have fucking 12 grand in the bank and there's 2 weeks of payroll coming. Like, better figure that out pretty quick, because no one teaches you how to do that stuff. And so if you can get in a point, Gary, to your point, and I'll give you the mic back, is like, you got to understand how to manage and project and plan for all this shit that's going to happen, or else you're going to end up in a position like me and my friend in Kentucky over there, where you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, trying to figure some shit out that you always wanted to happen. You're like, hold on, I got to exactly where I want to go, and now there's this whole other fucking set of problems that I have to deal with. Like, I thought it gets easy after all this happens, and unfortunately,
that's exactly right. Especially with commercial work, you get into this mindset, man, I want more commercial work. And I hear it from guys all the time, and you do too, Dave. Like, I want to increase my commercial work. I want to increase the amount of work I do with property managers. And you don't realize, like, a property manager doesn't hand you a credit card at the end of the service and go, here, swipe that for 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 grand, whatever it was. What they do is say, send me an invoice. So you email them an invoice, and it goes through their process called the dark hole. And 30 days later,
we got to put a note for one of our recordings that we do next week about the trick we figured out with the remember we shortened up the thing, and with the getting paid quick. We did some gangster shit with my buddy Mike Ladowski came up with this. I can't take credit for it, but Barin executed it to a T. We'll have a podcast episode going into January about how to shorten up getting paid by property managers and how to actually make more money off your invoices. We started charging 15% more. We'll go into that, but it just that I digress. But
I mean, and there's all kinds of tricks. I mean, one is a lot of them will have credit cards or payment cards up to a certain amount. Like, we did a lot of work for distilleries, and he could approve. Yeah, $5,000. So, okay, you're going to get an invoice for $5 grand today, $5 grand tomorrow, $5 grand the next day, and it got us paid. But you have to, until you face those things, you're not going to know what that feels like. Like Dave said, you got 25 grand in payroll waiting on you, 12 grand in the bank, and you're owed 150 grand. It gives you anxiety. Like, it gives you anxiety that there is no medication out there for, right? So focusing on cash is important, and that's why you want to look at these things on a consistent basis. The other thing, customers. Like, I look at cash and customers as being the pillars of every business. Like, that's the pillar. If you don't have cash, you don't have customers, you don't have a business, period. And you have to look at those customers and how you're getting customers, how you're communicating to customers, how you're maintaining your customer service. Like, what are those things? How's that process laid out? What are you doing to be consistent with it? And finally, again, about today kind of ad nauseum is consistency. Like everything that you do being consistent. And a lot of that requires you being accountable to yourself, to someone, somehow, a calendar, whatever it may be. Consistency of anything is what's going to create growth. Like the gym that I go to in past lives has a sign up, and it basically says that there is 1 degree difference between boiling water and steam, but steam will move a locomotive. And you think about guys that really are pushing and making things happen. Like they've learned how to get to the steam part. They've learned how to maximize their effort related to that.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do to get yourself there? Right. I mean, we always talk about traits that we want to see in people, and my favorite trait that people say is hard worker. I want a hard worker. Well, I want a smart worker. I want a smart worker. I want someone that knows how to use the time that they have to impact as many things as they have on a consistent, continuous basis. A hard worker just goes and tries to do as much as possible in as little bit of time as possible, and really
as possible, as little. You know what I want? I want someone who shows up on time. We got the rest figured out, like the systems we built in our business because of planning. If we can just get someone that shows up, they made it through the interview, we know they're not a complete mouth-breathing shampoo drinker, show up on time because we got the rest figured out. It's like, I say the hard worker shit, we laugh about that all the time, Gary, because it's like, you don't necessarily need some ragtag hard worker if you have your stuff set up to the point where it's kind of plug and play. We were joking about this the other day with Sessions, where like David Sessions got one of the most amazing hiring plans and onboarding plans that I've ever seen. We don't do that shit as much. Like we got it pretty laid out with what we need from people, where it's like, I can kind of take a guy, and as long as you're going to show up on time and do what we talked about in the interview, like we can plug you into what we're doing on the cleaning company. Now with Dope, that's not as much the case, right? We need some experience with things. We need some people that understand some stuff. But neither of what I just said has to do with a hard worker. Like that's not what we're hiring for.
Right. No. So, in ending up, Dave, 2020 to 2021, what's your parting words for everybody on this wonderful December 30th? One more day left in this beautiful year that we've had.
Get your yard signs now because they're cheap. They're cheap. I
did just get a ringless from you.
Hey. I know a guy. I know a guy who knows something about ringless voicemails. We in the effort of planning, we got a deal going on right now for yard signs. We got 100 signs for $447, 100 signs for $447, 250 for $997, 500 for $1797, and 1,000 for less than $3 a piece. The idea is that you're planning, right? You don't need your yard signs now. Keith, my man, Megan, Abby, I think Rafi's online today. You'll get taken good care of, my friend. Free shipping, free stakes, free design on everything. And I promise you, I'm 2 things. I'm transparent and I'm honest. And I will be transparently honest here. We'll never have this pricing again. I promise you. Like, take my word for it. What we're doing in an effort to help businesses start planning, this is kind of like my jump start to it. You might not need signs today, but why don't you order 250 or 500 or 1,000 signs? Tell us when you want us to ship them to you. We can break the order up. We can do it in any way possible in an effort to get you to plan. Because how many times have you been sitting around like, oh shit, I got 5 signs left, but we got a bunch of jobs and I'm not going to remember to order them. So you call the company and you're like, I need my signs in 2 days. It's like, that doesn't work right. That's why everything, the way you do all those things, the reason they all end up the same way, it's the definition of insanity. You can't act the same way ever and expect a different result. That's insane. So it's like, in the effort of planning from a marketing standpoint, because that's what we help with, planning your signs, planning your postcards, planning your door hangers, planning getting a list, planning out a 3, 6, 12-month campaign so you're not wondering how you're going to get work. We lay everything out. There's a plan. We execute it. You go back and run your business. And the first step of that before the new year is ordering signs.
Get signs. Signs make a difference for sure.
They do.
Guys, we appreciate you watching. Man, 2020 was our shit show for sure. Hopefully,
all of us, we lived it together.
Hopefully, all of you guys came out of it stronger, harder than we went in. Obviously, I had a great year. I can't complain, but at the same time, I didn't get to travel as much as I like to. I didn't get to do the things that I enjoy to do on a personal level. And I'm looking forward to 2021 for a lot of things. And one of them is I'm going to take my third business to 7 figures in 2021. So I'm one of those guys that likes to put my shit out there and tell people what my goals are. And so there you have it. $1 million in 2021, Dave. I'm coming. And we'll see what happens. I have another I'm working on a national brand. Dave doesn't even know this yet either. I'm working on a national brand right now.
Are we finally open a junk removal franchise?
No, graffiti removal. National branding that's related to but I'm a fan of graffiti removal for a lot of reasons. Makes a lot of money.
Amazing work to do, and you can buy a 5.5 gallon a minute hot unit and 1 gallon of something and create magic.
Yeah, so I'm working on that. So, my whole point of telling you guys this is 2021 should be that year for you that you do the things that you didn't think that you would do. And create those goals, put a plan in place, and hopefully the Business Bullies podcast can help you get to where you need to be. But if you own a home service business, get your signs. He said they're cheap today.
They're fucking cheap.
Believe him.
Our signs cheap today.
Get after it. What's that?
Cheap.
Cheap.
I can't get anyone to answer a text message, but everyone's responding to me on Facebook.
Everybody's responding on Facebook. So keep Facebooking.
So nobody answers my text messages, but everybody is responding to my Facebook Messenger. So everyone's on Facebook watching you guys right now.
Shit. Oh, Dylan, by the way, Megan's going to hit you with that shipping stuff. Dylan, I know you're watching.
I just added his.
Guys, we appreciate you watching. Check out our next episode.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Appreciate you guys.